Hi Mark, this is Michael. My student number is S0141007. The speech title is How to Spot a Liar, and I'm the senior student at NCUE. So I'm going to read a TED Talk speech. How to Spot a Liar by Pamela Meyer. Okay, now I don't want to alarm anybody in this room, but it's just come to my attention that the person to your right is a liar. Laughter. Also, the person to your left is a liar. Also, the people sitting in your very seat is a liar. We are all liars. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you what the research says about why we are all liars, how you can become a lie spotter, and why you might want to cut the extra miles and go from lie spotting to truth seeking, and ultimately to trust building. Now, speaking of trust, ever since I wrote this book, Lie Spotting, no one wants to meet me in person anymore. No, 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 no. They say, it's okay, we'll email you. Laughter. I can even get a coffee date at Starbucks. I can't even get a coffee date at Starbucks. My husband's like, honey, deception? Maybe you could have focused on cooking. How about French cooking? So before I get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clarify my goal for you, which is not to teach a game of gotcha. Lie spotter aren't those nitpicky kids, those kids in the back of the room that are shouting, gotcha, gotcha. Your eyebrow twitched, you flare your nostril. I watched that TV show, Lie to Me. I know you are lying. No, lie spotter are armed with scientific knowledge of how to spot deception. They use it to get to the truth, and they do what mature leaders do every day. They have difficult conversations with difficult people, sometimes during a very difficult time, and they start up that path by accepting a core proposition. And that proposition is the following. Lying is a cooperative act. Think about it. A lie has no power whatsoever by its mere utterance. Its power emerge when someone else agrees to believe the lie. So I know it may sound like tough love, but look, if at some point you got lied to, it's because you agreed to get lied to. Truth number one about lying. Lying's a cooperative act. Now, not all lies are harmful. Sometimes we are willing to participate in deception for the sake of social dignity. Maybe to keep a secret that should be kept secret. Secret, we say, nice song. Honey, you don't look fat in that. No. Or we say favorite the dire or we say favorite of the Gujarati. You know, I just fished that email out of my spam folder. So sorry. But there are times when we are unwilling participant in deception, and that can have dramatic costs for us. Last year saw $997 billion in corporate fraud alone in the United States. That's an eyelash under $1 trillion. That's 7% of revenues. Deception can cost billions. Think Aaron Madoff, the mortgage crisis, or in the case of double agent and traitor, like Robert Hansen or Eldridge Ames. Lies can betray our country. Lies can betray our country. They can compromise our security. They can undermine democracy. They can cause the death of those that defend us. Deception is actually serious business. This is con, man. Henry Oberlander, he was such an effective con man. British Authorities say he could have undermined the entire banking system of Western world, and you can't find this guy on Google. You can't find him anywhere. He was interviewed once and he said the following. He said, "Look, I've got one rule," and this was Henry's rule. He said, "Look, everyone is willing to give you something. They are ready to give you something for whatever it is they are hungry for. And that's the crux of it. That's the crux of it. If you don't want to be deceived, you have to know what is it that you're hungry for. And we all kind of hate to admit it. We wish we were better husband, better wife, smarter, more powerful, taller, richer. The list goes on. Lying is an attempt to bridge that gap, to connect our wishes and our fantasies about who we wish we were and how we wish we could be, with what we are really like, and boys are willing to fill those gaps in our lives with lies. On a given day, students show that you may be lied to anywhere from 10 to 200 times. Now, granted, many of those are white lies, but in another study, it showed that strangers lie 3 times within the first 10 minutes of meeting each other. Laughter. Now, when we first hear this idea, we recoil. We can't believe how prevalent lying is. We are essentially against lying. But if you look more closely, the spot actually thickens. We lie more to strangers than we lie to co-workers. Extroverts lie more than introverts. Men lie 8 times more about themselves than they do other people. Women lie more to protect other people. If you are an average married couple, you are going to lie to your spouse in 1 out of every 10th interaction. Now, you may think that's bad. If you are on marriage, that number drops to 3. Lying is complex. It's woven into the fabric of our daily and our business lives. We are deeply ambivalent about the truth. We phrase it out on an as-needed basis, sometimes for very good reason, other times just because we don't understand the gaps in our life. That's true number 2 about lying. We are against lying, but we are covertly for it in ways that our society has sanctioned for century and century and century. It's as old as breathing. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. Think Dante, Shakespeare, the Bible. News of the world, laughter. Lying has evolutionary value to us as a species. Research have long known that the more intelligent the species, the larger the neocortex, the more likely it is to be deceptive. Now you may remember Coco. Does anybody remember Coco the gorilla who was taught sign language? Coco was taught to communicate via sign language. Here's Coco with her kitten. It's her cute little fluffy pet kitten. Coco once blamed her pet kitten for ripping a sink out of the wall. Laughter. We are hardwired to become leaders of the pack. It starts really early. How's early? Well, babies will fake a cry, pause, wait to see who's coming, and then go right back to crying. 1 year old learns concealment. Laughter. 2 years old bluff. 5 years old lies outright. They manipulate via flattery. 9 years old master of the cover-up. But by the time you enter college, you're going to lie to your mom in 1 hour out of every 5 interactions. By the time we enter this work world and we are breadwinner. We enter a world that is just cluttered with spam, fake digital friend, partisan media, ingenious identity thief, world-class Ponzi schemer, a deception epidemic. In short, what one author calls a post-truth society. It's been very confusing for a long time now. What do you do? Well, there are steps we can take to navigate our way through the morass. Train light spot get to the truth 90% of the time. The rest of us we are only 54% accurate. Why is it so easy to learn? There are good liars and bad liars. There are no real original liars. We all make the same mistake. We all use the same techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the two patterns of deception, and then we are going to look at the hotspot and see if we can find them ourselves. We are going to start with speech. Video. Bill Clinton. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relationship with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. And these allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for American people. Thank you. Applause. Pamela Meyer. Okay, what were the telltale signs? Well, first we hear what's known as a non-contract denial. Studies show that people who are over-determined in their denial will resort to formal rather than informal language. We also hear this tensing language, that woman. We know that liars will unconsciously distance themselves from their subject, using language as their tool. Now, if Bill Clinton had said, well, tell you the truth, or Richard Nixon favorite, in all candor, he would have been a dead giveaway for any lie spotter that knows that qualifying language, as it's called, qualifying language like that, further discredit the subject. Now, if he has repeated the question in its entirety, or if he had peppered his account with a little too much detail, and we're all really glad he didn't do that, he would have further discredited himself. Freud has it right. Freud has it right. Freud said, look, there's much more to it than speech. No mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips, and we all do it no matter how powerful you are. We all chatter with our fingertips. I'm going to show you Dominic Strauss-Kahn with Obama, who is chattering with his fingertips. Laughter. Now this brings us to our next pattern, which is body language. With body language, here's what you've got to do. You've really got to just throw your assumption out the door. Let the science temper your knowledge a little bit, because we think liars fit get all the time. Well, guess what? They are known to freeze their upper bodies when they're lying. We think liars won't look you in the eye. Well, guess what? They look you in the eyes a little too much just to compensate for that myth. We think warmth and smile convey honestly, sincerity, but a trained lie spotter can spot a fake smile a miles away. Can you all spot the fake smile here? You can consciously contract the muscle in your cheeks, but the real smile in the eyes, the crow's feet of the eye, they cannot be consciously contracted, especially if you overdid the Botox. Don't overdo the Botox. Nobody will think you are honest. Now, we are going to look at the hotspot. Can you tell what's happening in the conversations? Can you start to find the hotspot to see the discrepancies between someone's word with someone's actions? Now, I know it seems really obvious, but when you're having a conversation with someone you suspect of deceptions, attitudes is by far the most overlooked but telling of indicators. An honest person is going to be cooperative. They are going to show they're on your side. They are going to be enthusiastic. They are going to be willing and helpful to get you to the truth. They are going to be willing to be brainstorm, name suspect, provide details. They are going to say, hey, maybe it was those guys in payroll that forged those checks. They're going to be infuriated if they sense they are wrongly accused throughout the entire course of the interview, not just in flashes. They will be infuriated throughout an entire course of the interview. And if you ask someone honest what should happen to whomever did forge those checks, an honest person is much more likely to recommend strict rather than lenient punishment. Now, let's say you're having an exact same conversation with someone deceptive. That person may be withdrawn, look down, lower their voice, pause, be kind of herky-jerky. As a deceptive person to tell their story, they're going to pepper it with way too much details in all kind of irrelevant places, and then they're going to tell their story in strict chronological order. And what a trained interrogator does is they come in and in very subtle way over the course of several hours. They will ask that person to tell that story backward, and then they will watch them squirm and track which question produced the highest volume of deceptive tales. Why do they do that? Well, we all do the same thing. We rehearse our words, but we rarely rehearse our gesture. We say yes, we shake our hands. No, we tell very convincing story. We slightly shrug or shrug our shoulder. We commit terrible crimes, and we smile at the delight in getting away with it. Now, that smile is known in the trade as dumping delight. And we are going to see that in several videos moving forward, but we are going to start. For those of you who don't know him, this is presidential candidate John Edward, who shocked America by fattering a child out of wedlock. We're going to see him talk about getting a paternity test. See now if you can spot him saying yes while shaking his head no, slightly shrugging his shoulder. Video, John Edward. I would be happy to participate in one. Now, I know that it's not possible that this child could be mine because of the timing of event, so I know it's not possible. Happy to take a paternity test and would love to see it happen. Interviewer, are you going to do that soon? Is there somebody? John Edward, well, I'm only one side of the test, but I'm happy to participate in one. PM, okay. Those head shakes and are much easier to spot once you know to look for them. There are going to be times when someone makes one expression whilst masking another that just kind of leaks through in the flesh. Murderers are known to leak sadness. Your new joint venture partner might shake your hand, celebrate, go out to dinner with you, and then leak an expression of anger. And we are not all going to become facial expression expert overnight here, but there's one I can teach you that is very dangerous, and it's easy to learn. and that's the expression of contempt. Now, with anger, you've got two people on an even playing field. It's still somewhat of a healthy relationship, but when anger's turned to contempt, you've been dismissed it. It's associated with moral superiority, and for that reason, it's very, very hard to recover from. Here's what it look like. It's marked by one lip's corner pulled up and in. It's the only asymmetrical expression. And in the presence of contempt, whether or not deception follows, and it doesn't always follow. Look the other way. Go the other direction. Reconsider the deals. Say no thanks. No, thank you. I'm not coming up for just one more nightcap. Thank you. Science has surfaced many more indicators. We know, for example, liars will shift their blink rate, point their feet toward an exit. They will take a barrier object and put them between themselves and the person that is interviewing them. They will alter their vocal tone, often make their vocal tone much lower. Now here's the deal. These behavior are just behavior. They are not proof of deception. They are red flags. We are human beings. We make deceptive, flaying gestures all over the place all day long. They don't mean anything in and of themselves. But when you see cluster of them, that's your signal. Look, listen, probe, ask some hard question, get out of that very comfortable mode of knowing, walk into curiosity mode, ask more questions, have a little dignity, treat the person you're talking to with rapport. Don't try to be like those folks on Law and Order and those on TV shows that pummel their subject into submission. Don't be too aggressive. It doesn't work. Now, we've talked a little bit about how to talk to someone who's lying and how to spot a lie. And as I promised, we're now going to look at what the truth looked like. But I'm going to show you two videos, two mother. One is lying, one is telling the truth, and these were surfaced by research David Matsumoto in California. And I think they are an excellent example of what the truth looked like. This mother, Diane Downs, shot her kids at close range, drove them to the hospital while they bleed all over the car, claimed a scratchy-haired stranger did it. And you'll see when you see this video, she can't even pretend to be an agonizing mother. What you want to look for here is an incredible discrepancy between horrific events that she described and her very, very cold demeanor. And if you look closely, you will see dumpling the light throughout this video. Daniel Downs. At night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keeps coming out of her mouth, and that's... maybe it's fade too with time, but I don't think so. That's bothered me the most. PM. Now, I'm going to show you a video of actual grieving mother, Erin Runion, confronting her daughter murders and tortured in court. Here you are going to see no false emotion, just the authentic expression of a mother's agony. Video. Erin Runion. I wrote this statement on the 3rd anniversary of the night you took my baby, and you hurt her, and you crushed her, you terrified her until her heart stopped it. And she fought, and I know she fought you, and I know she looked at you with those amazing brown eyes, and you still wanted to kill her, and I don't understand it, and I never will. PM. Okay, there's no doubting that veracity of those emotions. Now the technology around what the truth look like is progressing on. The science of it we know, for example, that we now have specialized eyes tracker and infrared brain scans (MRIs) that can decode the signal that our bodies send out when we are trying to be deceptive. And these technologies are going to be marketed to all of us as panacea for deceit. And they will prove incredibly useful someday, but you have got to ask yourself in the meantime, who do you want on your side of meeting? Someone who trains in getting to the truth, or some guys who's going to drag a 400 pounds electronic phonograms through the door? LiveSpotter relies on human tool they know. As someone once said, characters who you are in the dark. And what's kind of interesting is that today we have so little darkness. Our world is light up 24 hours a day. It's transparent with blog and social network broadcasting the buzz of a whole new generation of people that have made a choice to live their lives in public. It's a much more noise world. So one challenge we have is to remember oversharing, and that's not honesty. Our magnetic tweeting and texting can blind us to the fact that the subtleties of human decency, character integrity, that's still what matters. That's always what's going to matter. So in this much noisier world, it might make sense for us to be just a little bit more explicit about our moral code. When you combine the science of recognizing deceptions with the art of listening, you exempt yourself from collaborating in a lie. You start up that path of being just a little bit more explicit, because you signal to everyone around you. You say, hey, our world is going to be an honest one. My world is going to be one where truth is strengthened and falsehood is recognized and marginalized. And when you do that, the ground around you starts to shift just a little bit. And that's the truth. Thank you. Applause. And this is the end of my speech. Bye bye.